Hello friends. So today we are going to talk about the other 5 reactions or the last 5 reactions of glycolysis. Before we get started, I request everyone who has not viewed the previous videos. We have 2 videos before this, which is basically the introduction to glycolysis and glycolysis part 1. I request those who have not viewed those videos to first watch those videos before you can continue with this one. So moving on, today we are going to start with the phase C or the third phase of glycolysis, which is the energy generation phase, right? So this energy generation phase consists of 5 steps. So we are going to start from step 6, right? And in this step 6, as I told you earlier, DHAP has already been converted to another molecule of G3P. So meaning to say, now we have 2 molecules of G3P in hand. So this energy generation phase is going to happen twice because there are 2 molecules of G3P, right? And at the end of this cycle, we'll get 2 pyruvates, right? So to begin with, the 6th reaction is the conversion of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate into 1,3 biphospho or bisphosphoglycerate. Now in this reaction, as you can see, it's again a phosphorylation reaction. Another phosphate molecule is being added to the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So this reaction is made possible by the enzyme G3P or glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. So now for this reaction to take place, apart from this enzyme, we also need a phosphate donor. So to fill in that role, we have H3PO4 or phosphoric acid. Now we also get a important component out of this reaction, which is NADH. So from where do we get NADH? Now we also have another component called NAD plus. So this NAD plus along with this phosphoric acid is going to give us NADH along with 1 proton, which is H plus. Now I don't have to write everything which I just told on the right side also. So what I wanted to write on the right side is that keep in mind that this 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate is of significance because this is a very high energy yielding molecule. The reason is because of the NADH that is being produced in this reaction. So now how will this NADH produce ATP, which is basically energy? So this NADH is going to undergo the electron transport chain. It is going to take part in the electron transport chain, and at the end of electron transport chain, from this 1 molecule of NADH alone, there are going to be 6 ATPs formed. Okay, so that is the reason this 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate is considered as a high energy molecule. And also remember that this reaction or this particular enzyme G3P dehydrogenase, right, it can be inhibited by iodoacetate and arsenate. So you must have heard about arsenic poisoning. So that arsenic poisoning's mode of action is by inhibiting glycolysis only. And also iodoacetate is being considered as a potential chemotherapeutic agent for cancer. So it is basically being used, it's going to be used of course, to stop glycolysis from happening in cancer cells because it's a irreversible inhibitor of this G3P dehydrogenase. Okay, so these two are inhibitors of this step, 6th step, right? So moving on, that being said, we can move on to the 7th step of glycolysis, which is basically the conversion of 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate to 3-phosphoglycerate. I hope everyone is able to take notes along with me. So for this reaction, the enzyme that is making it possible is called phosphoglycerate kinase. Phosphoglycerate kinase. Now, for this reaction, while this reaction is taking place, as you can see, one phosphate is being removed from this 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, and that is why we are getting this phosphoglycerate, 3-phosphoglycerate. So basically this is a dephosphorylation reaction. So now where does that phosphate go? So that is being carried by ADP. So that phosphate which comes from this 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate along with the ADP forms ATP. So in this one step alone, ATP, one molecule of ATP is directly obtained, comparing to the sixth step where we produced NADH, which will eventually form 6 ATPs. In this one step, there is a direct formation of one molecule of ATP. So this reaction where ATP is formed directly is called substrate level phosphorylation. Okay. So that being said, I want you to remember that this phosphoglycerate kinase is an reversible enzyme. So phosphoglycerate kinase. Of course, this phosphoglycerate kinase, if you had studied about enzymes, you will know that it belongs to the class of dehydrogenases, and not all dehydrogenases are reversible. It's a rare example of a reversible dehydrogenase. So it's a point of significance. Now moving on about the eighth reaction. So in this reaction, this phosphoglycerate, which has the phosphate at its third position, carbon 3, is just going to undergo isomerization reaction and become 2-phosphoglycerate. Basically, the phosphate group is being interchanged from the third carbon to the second carbon. So of course, any isomerization reaction is reversible. So we have to indicate it by a double-headed arrow. And also the seventh reaction, I just told you that it's reversible, right? So that also shall be indicated by a double-headed arrow. And now remember that any isomerization reaction, the enzyme that is going to be involved is called isomerase, right? So nothing much about this reaction, it is very self-explanatory. We can move on to the ninth reaction or the ninth step of glycolysis. So in this step, this 2-phosphoglycerate is being converted to phosphoenol pyruvate. So again, this is also a high energy yielding molecule. So you will see how. So phosphoenol pyruvate. Now this reaction is made possible by the enzyme enolase. Right. Now for this enolase enzyme to act, we need magnesium, which we saw very often in the first phase of glycolysis, or we can also use, or manganese can also be used to, they can be used as a cofactor for this reaction. And while this reaction happens, H2O is released, a molecule of water is released. So the ninth point significance is that H2O is released, then enolase, the phosphoenol pyruvate, which we can write as PEP, is a high energy compound, right? And magnesium or manganese is required. That I don't have to write it again, right? It's going to waste your time anyways. Now before we move on to the 10th reaction, I have to add one more point, that is fluoride is an inhibitor of this enolase enzyme. So what is the significance of this fluoride? So why do we need to know about this inhibitor now? Of course, iodoacetate is going to be used for cancer treatment, arsenate, arsenic poison. Same way, this fluoride is being used, it is being added in blood samples. So what blood samples? The blood samples which are collected for glucose test, it may be fasting or postprandial. So the estimation of glucose in blood sample, for that we add this fluoride, which is basically an inhibitor of glycolysis, right? Of course, if fluoride is going to inhibit enolase, it is going to inhibit glycolysis at one part, right? At the 9th reaction, right? So basically why we do this is to prevent the breakdown of glucose, which is glycolysis, in our blood sample, so that we can estimate the accurate value of blood glucose of the patient. Okay, so that being said, we can move on to the 10th reaction or the final reaction, where this phosphoenol pyruvate is converted to the pyruvate, the eventual substrate. Now this pyruvate, when it is formed, again there is a conversion of, as you can see, phosphate is lost, right? So how is this phosphate lost? Now again it is being accepted by ADP to form ATP, and for this reaction to take place, we have the enzyme pyruvate kinase playing its role. And also remember, we again need the cofactor magnesium or manganese to facilitate this reaction. Now the significance of this reaction is that again it's a substrate level phosphorylation, as ATP is produced in this one reaction itself, so it's a substrate level phosphorylation. One more point is that it is a irreversible reaction. So of course, once pyruvate is formed, again phosphoenol pyruvate cannot be formed from pyruvate, so it's an irreversible reaction. So that sums up glycolysis. So in the upcoming videos, I will be talking about the other aspects of glycolysis, like the total energy that is formed, gross energy that is formed, gross ATP, and about the Rappaport-Lubering shunt, and other things will be discussed in the subsequent videos. Thank you.